I've actually been wondering how organizations are coping with a tight economic situation. I've been wondering how cottage industries, small-scale businesses, entrepreneurs are managing even to save money in this critical time. I know some of them have already started reducing the man-hour time, the number of times they are open for operations. I also know that some have started cutting costs on the number of people that come to work per time. There are so many strategies working for different people. Some are going virtual, that they don't even have to come into the office to work anymore. By virtual operations, they are saving costs. But I want to share some more insights in what I think will work for cottage industries and for small and medium scale businesses. One of the things that people should do at this point is to invest more in technology, invest more in high efficient machines, invest more in technologies that can grant you speed, save you costs, require less manpower, and help in your output. At this point, we need to pay so much attention to our technological positions in our investments, especially those who are in production. The other thing to consider is going green. With the high tariff, it's difficult for some organizations to fare well because by the time you're done paying electricity bills, you see that you're virtually working for the electricity distribution companies. So some people may not have been mindful of what we're talking about. There are times organizations just to run, they are generating income, they are generating revenue, but at the end of the day, the revenue doesn't end in profiteering. So there's nothing to show for all the large revenue that comes in because costs would have taken off everything. And of course, that's why your tailor will even bill you and ask you for so much money, and at the end of the day may still go home with nothing because the cost of running an office space. In some cases, some organizations have started paying attention to the utility usages. So we should go green again to look at how we can cut off the national grid of electricity, which comes with huge cost or high maintenance, and go into something, maybe the solar system, that can help us and take little from us. The other one that organizations should be considering is proper negotiation with their vendors and suppliers. This is not a time when an organization will sit down and be asking vendors to make all supplies without consideration of what the market costs and prices of all of those things are. We should be more critical in our negotiation with the vendors. Every vendor is coming to you for a business, but if you can shunt this process and maybe go direct market procurement, that may help for an organization. So by that, you are going to be saving yourself some operational costs. Organizations should negotiate well with their vendors. The other one is to outsource certain things that are not the core of the organization. Sometimes you may not have to get involved in everything because having to do everything means having to have more hands, having more people, having more salaries to pay, having many more hands to take care of, and of course, your facilities and your office will be under serious pressure that will on its own bring you some cost. So dropping some of these things may be a good way to go. So you outsource some processes, some part of your operations, particularly those that are not core to you. You can give them out and allow some other person take care of all of those for you. The other one that we may be considering is lease against buying. There are some equipments, there are some machines that we may have need for. Like I said earlier on, that we need to do pay attention to technology. But sometimes you may not have to go on to buy these equipments or these machines, but you can as well lease them where you have them, especially when you don't use them per second, per minute. So you can lease them if you consider that cheaper, at least for the meantime, before you can make much money and then decide to buy. But for small businesses, you may not have to buy everything. But some organizations as well, consideration of your facility, maybe you want to be in your own space, is prestigious. But when you give some reasonable considerations, it may even be better off for you to rent and lease a space rather than buying off one at the same time. So you may also have to consider leasing as against buying for equipments, for facilities, for properties and all of those. So you may consider equipping. Then the other one that is most important for me is minding the customers. Every business is opened with the intention that customers will walk in. All the revenues that will generate are coming from clients. So for every lost customer means you have lost some revenue. And of course, this is not something that goes well for every organization, both the big and the small. You need to be more careful with your customer retention strategy. So you must retain your customers, and I don't know what it takes on your own part, on your industry, but it's most difficult for services that are homogeneous or productions that are homogeneous, that what you're offering is what this other person is offering, and it's difficult for you to even differentiate. Why should I be with A or B? In that case, it takes so much on you or your organization to work out strategy that works in keeping your customers or in retaining your customers. Rather than lose a customer, I suggest that you gain 2 or even 3, depending on the strategy that you have in place. But you don't have to lose any customer at this point, because a customer loss is a wastage on your organization. So you need to pay attention to this, because this is part of the savings that we are talking about. And the other one is to take advantage of your credit lines. For those who are in production, those who are in manufacturing, distribution, and all that, you need to pay attention to your credit lines. I don't know the credit lines that you have, but you need to utilize professionally and accountably your credit lines, so that you don't have to waste so much money on logistics. For instance, you want to get, or you're producing a ton of a particular product, and you will have to move it at the same time, and the vehicle moving it can as well have the capacity of taking up to 10 tons, but what you're conveying per time is just 1 ton. So in case you have the credit line, and maybe the reason for moving 1 ton in place of 10 tons is because of financial shortfalls, you can take your credit line to save some costs on the logistics by moving 10 tons and then making more money and covering up for what the transportation or the logistics of those products would have cost you. That could be another way of saving some cost. But the bottom line of all that we are talking about is savings. So when you would have saved some money in your processes, in your operations, in your strategies and all that, where do you keep the savings? It's not just like some organizations or entities where they say we are making savings, and at the end of the day, it doesn't boil down to naira and kobo. So what matters at the end of the matter is how much in naira and kobo can be found in a dedicated savings account. So you need to have an account created for all your savings, and maybe from there your investments and some other things can come forward or can come up. So pay attention to some of these things. These are my little keys or my little suggestions, and I know that if you adopt them or apply 1 or 2, there could be some changes. But if there is, and you think there is much more that we can consider or should be done, maybe you can hit the comment section and now tell us what your take is concerning what we have been discussed.